Hi, everybody. Welcome to Political Excess. Today, I want to talk about the filibuster in the U.S. Senate. And what I want to focus on is why we're having this conversation now and what I see happening down the road. So, why are we having this conversation now? In the last year and a half, there's been a lot of talk about getting rid of the 60 vote threshold in the Senate so that legislation can be passed with a simple majority of 51 votes. The Democrats are narrowly in power, so they are looking for that advantage to get through some of their agenda that can otherwise be held up by the minority party, this time the Republicans. They think this is their chance to try to do something, and their argument is it's anti-democratic to not be able to have 51 votes pass legislation. Now, that is certainly true in a sense. However, the U.S. Senate, since it represents states, it's not proportion to population. It is designed to be more deliberate, as this is affecting nationwide policies. So there is supposed to be an extra threshold that does make sense. So I can understand some frustration. It's just that it is supposed to be slower in the Senate. And federal power, I think, is supposed to have an extra hurdle to overcome. It's going to affect the entire population. I also hear that given the political polarization these days, it's almost impossible to get 60 votes on anything. And I do somewhat agree with that as well. Anything remotely controversial is not going anywhere, and sometimes that is unfortunate. But the main thing I want to bring up is what is going to happen. And the Republicans had full control a few years ago. They did not scrap the filibuster. They kept it intact. Some people did want to do it. They ultimately did not go through with it. Back then, the Democratic senators were, of course, opposed as they were in the minority. But now that they are in the majority, almost all of them seem to have completely flipped. I remember there was a letter signed by the Democratic senators, I think even Republicans, agreeing to keep the filibuster intact. When Trump was in office, there was just an extreme defense of that particular rule for the institution of the Senate. So now when the power has flipped, it seems nakedly hypocritical to want to scrap this thing that you were just rigorously defending a few years ago. And in this particular instance, the Republicans that did not want to scrap it a few years ago, they don't look hypocritical here because, of course, they don't want to do it now. But the question for them is once the Republicans are back in full control, they're going to have the same pressure to scrap that filibuster. And what are they going to do then? That's going to be the real question. And the flip side of that is, what are the Democrats going to say then? That it's not about democracy and the majority. Then they're going to fall back and completely defend it. It's not going to make any sense whatsoever. That's the most frustrating part about this. And it's not remotely hidden. It is blatant. And I think in this case, the Democrats are going to look the most hypocritical as they just not that long ago, this wasn't 20 years ago, they wanted it in place, no question. Now they want it gone, no question. And then once they're out of power, they're going to want it in place again. That to me is mind-blowingly hypocritical. I think the Republicans are going to be hypocritical, but they cannot look as bad as the Democrats. And I don't know how that's going to go. Next time Republicans are in power and they say, hey, you guys wanted to scrap this, now's a good time to do it when it suits them. But then what are the Democrats going to say? They're just going to say the same stuff, that it's a power grab and that you have to defend the institution of the Senate and that they wanted to keep it in place when they were out of power. It's going to be a complete circular argument. It's never going to go anywhere. And that's what's so disheartening to see from your politicians. I think both parties have set themselves up to just look like idiots once the tables are turned. But I think especially the Democrats, as what are they going to say if Donald Trump or the next Republican gets into power and wants to enact some legislation? Are they going to say, yeah, the filibuster, it's anti-democratic and it's a relic and it's racist? Or are they going to be saying, wow, I'm glad we didn't scrap that filibuster, and they're going to just say the opposite? I think we all know the answer to that one. And Republicans, they certainly may try to do the opposite as well. I think they will be a little less hypocritical, but I think they will get more attention if they try to do it I think there'll be more media focus on the legislation they are trying to pass, and they'll try to derail it in that sense. The Republicans are looking at the Democrats saying that they very nearly scrapped it, and next time they would definitely scrap it. So the Republicans are probably thinking that they should scrap it first if they get back in power. Anyway, that's just a little bit of a rant about the filibuster. Will it ever be scrapped? I think at some point it will be. I think once one of the parties gets in there, they have enough momentum, they're going to scrap it. Is it a good idea or a bad idea? There's pros and cons for both of them. I don't want to get into what I think the hypocrisy is. And politics is loaded with it. This is no exception. So let me know what you think of the filibuster and what you think will happen to it. Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoy this content, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.